CBD, because that particular genie, again, is out of the bottle. But I think that Texas is going to be a major battleground over medical marijuana more generally, and then ultimately about recreational use. The state is very split demographically. There are 4 or 5 major metropolitan areas that tend to, not surprisingly, be more socially liberal, Austin in particular. The sheriffs in Texas, as in most of the country, have disproportionate political power. So the state legislature is distorted somewhat in the sense that the rural areas are disproportionately represented. And so this creates a real problem in terms of passing laws that are really of the greatest effect in the cities, but the cities do not have direct control over this. This is not a new problem. In 1973, I moved to Austin, which is a really lovely city. It's a big city now. It used to be a lovely little city. The problem at that time was we had 800 people in the state penitentiary for less than 1 ounce of cannabis. Marijuana, excuse me. Of those, 30 some odd were doing life for less than 1 ounce of marijuana. You know, when you talk about the history of marijuana prohibition, this is 1973, so this is not something new. I never saw a survey of the racial breakdown of the prisoners, but I'm sure that they were disproportionately non-white. There were plenty of poor whites. Let me just define that as this way, is that there were a lot of particularly young men whose families couldn't afford to buy them justice. They couldn't afford the best lawyers or the best bribe or whatever. We did get the laws changed in 73. 800 people were released from the Texas prison system in the fall of 1973. The irony of it is in 1973, the Texas Senate was ready to decriminalize marijuana. They actually passed their version of the reform bill that made marijuana Class C misdemeanor with a $100 fine in 1973. Now, it would not pass the Texas House, so they compromised, which is a big compromise because it was a Class B misdemeanor, which means that you could do 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. No doubt that since then, many thousands of mostly young men have been run through our jails and our criminal justice system because of that. Many thousand. But we did get $800 prison. That was the kind, when you're holding 800 people hostage, that's really what was happening. If we hadn't done that, there would have been thousands more. Here we are now in the supposedly modern world, and where Texas is, people are moving to Texas from California. Austin is a major tech center. Austin is a major music center. Fort Worth, my hometown, is an absolutely wonderful place. Dallas is Los Angeles, and Houston is the capital of the oil business of the world. And we may get medical, but it's going to be a major battle. It really is a very sad thing. Always within the American context, where we talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What idiot said that? In any place in America, this is an outrage against everything we proclaim to believe in. But for God's sake, in Texas, remember the Alamo? Oh no! I want to do what some politician tells me I has to do. Remember the Alamo. Think about the thing that when we really did believe in freedom, and a Texan would be the last person that would have to bow down to some goddamn corrupt politician in Washington, D.C. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. Remember the Alamo, folks.